government tried to hit bikies where it hurts, between their legs. You know the one piece of legislation that's more effective at disrupting bikie activity than anything else? But he's still bankrolling that other dangerous gang in town.
Tough new bikie laws.
Never gonna work. The problem with outlaws is they live outside the law. The clue's in the name. They're not being cryptic. This is the latest bill that is promoted as the toughest in Australia. Mark McGowan's government is going to ban bikies from showing their tattoos or their patches. They'll have to get their ink removed. Or cover it up with makeup.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline.
Which is going to be quite a lot of work for people who look like this. Bikies love their tats. About 20 years ago, a bikie in Kalgoorlie tattooed "you" on his forehead. He did it himself, but he didn't realise that everything in the mirror is reversed. So he walked around with this on his head.
What a genius.
I mention that as evidence that we aren't dealing with criminal masterminds here. If you join a bikie gang and you've completed high school, you get the nickname Brains. Yet they've run rings around our Attorneys General for 2 decades.
The current AG reckons he's on the money.
John Quigley wants to make it harder to be part of a gang.
Sorry, not you, Homer.
He wants to make WA the most inhospitable jurisdiction in Australia for outlaw motorcycle clubs. Now, Quigley isn't the first law officer of WA to have a crack. Before him came Michael Mission, Christian Porter and Jim McGinty. It's very much Groundhog Day in the underworld. Jim McGinty was Attorney General in Jeff Gallop's government, which was the architect of WA's first serious crackdown on bikies. Up until around the late 1990s, bikies and cops weren't quite frenemies, but there was a working relationship there. That changed forever in 2000 when former CIB chief Don Hancock killed a gypsy joker named Billy Grierson, allegedly. The gypsy jokers then blew up Hancock's pub. And then they blew up Hancock and his friend Lou Lewis. WA had never seen that kind of terrorism before. Gallop responded. He vowed he was going to wipe the bikie gangs out.
The insidious influence that organised crime can have on our society and the way that it functions is so evil that I think we need to set an objective to stamp it out altogether.
The government was sending a serious message to outlaws.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
The new law was called the Criminal Investigation, Exceptional Powers and Fortification Removal Bill 2001 and Acts Amendment Criminal Investigation Bill 2001.
Catchy.
Gallop told us it will give Western Australia the toughest laws in Australia for combating sinister and complex activities of criminal gangs. Sound familiar? The Gallop crackdown came at a time when we had 5 gangs in WA. Club Darrows, Gypsy Jokers, Coffin Cheaters, God's Garbage and the Rebels. There were about 200 patch members in total. Since then, the WA government and the feds introduced these laws. We spent tens of millions of dollars getting legal advice. Politicians spent thousands of hours drafting different pieces of legislation. Tens of millions more spent fighting High Court challenges. We brought to bear the full force of the Australian justice system down on bikies. WA Police, Australian Federal Police, Australian Taxation Office, Customs, Australian Border Force, the Crime Commission, the National Crime Authority, ASIO, and the WA Corruption and Crime Commission used those laws to undermine criminal empires and finally disband bikie gangs.
And we've just doubled the size of the gang crime squad.
Yep. And the result of 20 years of harsh law enforcement? The number of gangs in WA went from 5 to 17, and the number of patch bikies went from 200 to 700. All those laws failed to stop the Coffin Cheaters going to war with the Finks, the Rebels going to war with the Rock Machine, the Rebels going to war with the Comancheros, the Comancheros turning a wing at Hakea Prison into their own clubhouse, the Hells Angels turning Scarborough into their own fight club, the Mongols taking over a swag of rebels, and Nick Martin getting shot dead in front of hundreds of people.
Lawyers have made a fortune.
Well, our brightest legal minds have thrown the kitchen sink at this problem. And it's still easier to find meth in Perth than a pint that's under $10. We now even have feeder groups.
What are they?
They're junior bikies. They're being groomed to be proper gang members.
I shall call him Mini-Me.
They're in their late teens, early 20s and haven't quite got the street cred to be fully patched.
Because you're not quite evil enough.
The Mongols' feeder group is called the Raiders. Troy isn't wearing that because he's into American football. Here's a 21st century parenting tip. If your kid is getting around in a Raiders cap and doesn't know what a quarterback is, there's a chance the next knock on your door could be these guys.
Why are the laws not working?
Watch this guy.
No comment. Get off.
That fine upstanding wordsmith was Fink bikie Tristan Albury. He was being questioned by the Triple C about the 2010 Perth Motorplex brawl and faced jail time if he refused to answer. So he did. He said get f***ed or f*** off to every one of the 14 questions the Triple C asked him. Bikies don't care about going to jail. They don't listen to authority.
I've got you for the rest of your natural-born life if you don't watch your step. You want another one?
It's part of the business model of being a one-percenter.
But they do care about money.
Yeah. The government tried to hit bikies where it hurts, between their legs. That's Jim McGinty and former DPP Robert Koch on a confiscated Harley in a 2002 photo shoot designed to prove the bikie laws were working. 7 years later, McGinty admitted things weren't going so well. He said, toughening the law is fine at a political, rhetorical level, but our experience in Western Australia has shown that they haven't been used and therefore have not been effective. So you'll excuse me for being sceptical about these new laws.
So what do we do?
You know the one piece of legislation that's more effective at disrupting bikie activity than anything else?
What?
It's the Road Traffic Act 1974. It's not glamorous, but if bikies keep getting pulled over and hit with demerit points, they lose their licences, which means they can't go on club runs, which makes being part of the gang pretty difficult.
Clive Palmer might hit some roadblocks on his next run to WA.
Quigley has threatened to seize Clive's plane should the magnate ever touch down in WA. It was a pretty good day for our bald Avenger. After unveiling laws to stop bikies causing misery in WA, he received confirmation his laws to stop a billionaire doing exactly the same thing were constitutional. The High Court has ruled that the WA government's legislation to stop Clive from suing us for $30 billion is kosher. The Queenslander was chasing the money after the former Liberal government blocked him from developing an iron ore project in the Pilbara back in 2012. Quigley also vowed to go after Clive for costs. That's about $1 million, which will take Palmer about 1 day to earn. He already owes $1 million for costs associated with the unsuccessful High Court challenge over WA's hard border. Clive's got deep pockets, but short arms. But he's still bankrolling that other dangerous gang in town, the United Australia Party. I'm Ben Harvey. For more Up Late, click the subscribe button below.